Chilling tales for dark nights.
Want to make sure you never miss a Chilling Tales for Dark Nights video again? Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to turn on notifications. This episode of Chilling Tales for Dark Nights is brought to you by Fume. Hey pal, I've actually been meaning to bring something up with you. You know that bad habit of yours? It's totally lame, unhealthy, expensive, out of style, and not for nothing, but you kind of smell like a cat box. Other than that, though, I think you're fantastic. That's why I'd like for you to check out Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device designed to be the perfect alternative to that habit of yours. No vapor, no electronics, no chemicals, just natural, delicious flavors. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you could be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code CHILLING to get a free gift with your Journey Pack. Head to tryfume.com, that's tryfum.com, and use code CHILLING to get a free gift with your order today. It's time to turn off the lights and turn on the dark.
Chilling tales for dark nights.
Good evening, listener. You're listening to Chilling Tales for Dark Nights. On tonight's edition, we invite you to leave behind your safe reality and descend with us into the frightening depths of the most terrifying imaginations with two audio adaptations of frightening fiction about regretful renters and astronomical anomalies. I'm your host, Steve Taylor, and tonight I'll be your guide as we traverse the dimly lit corridors of your darkest dreams. I also wanted to take a moment to thank you for all of your donations. We are halfway to our goal and truly couldn't do any of this without you. Joining us tonight to help bring to life the frightening fiction of Sarah Jane Huntington and James Cooper are voice talents Melissa Medina and Nick Goroff. Now, get your ticket ready, take your seat in our theater of the minds, and brace yourself. It's time to turn off the lights and turn on the dark. Our first tale this evening is written by Sarah Jane Huntington and performed by Melissa Medina. In it, we meet a woman most unsettled with the purchase of a new home, and we will find out exactly why right along with her. Now, without further ado, I present to you A Rose in the Window.
Ever since we bought the house in the countryside, I haven't been able to settle. At first, it was only that I couldn't sleep. Instead, I lie awake for hours staring at the twisted cracks growing strong in the ceiling, only to fall into a slumber so deep I have nightmares I can never recall. I wake up full of terror so brutal, I lay breathless for hours. Then, I forget all about it. Why do I forget? I remember that the strange word turophobia means the fear of cheese, but I cannot recall where my most favorite lace dress might be. I like flowers, roses and tulips, but what did I eat today? Sunlight shines and I blink. When I look again, the moon has replaced the yellow brightness. I cannot settle. I feel as if the house doesn't belong to me. It doesn't feel real or substantial anymore, if it ever did to begin with. We signed the lease, or rather, he did, and the home became ours. It was supposed to be a new beginning, an adventure together, one just for us. Why does he never speak to me anymore? I hate this house. The spiraling staircase is dusty. I wipe and scrub with no effect. I wonder how I even got here. How my life came to be landed on this destination in this house. I want many things in my life. I want to travel and see glorious sights. I want to stand in open outdoor markets and smile at people as they bustle by. I want to see my friends, my family. I want to swim in an ocean and watch the waves crash on the shore. I cannot settle. All I do is wander and wait, and I don't even know what I'm waiting for. I think I knew once. A half-forgotten memory sometimes stirs within, but before I can snatch and examine it, it's gone, trailed away to sit along with the dust that never moves when I wipe it. I found a bottle of perfume. It isn't mine. Is it? There's a smart new washing machine and tumble dryer, still shiny and new. I remember the day it arrived, how he grunted and yelled, trying to make it fit in the small gap put aside for such a thing. I laughed at the absurdity, the comedy of the angry scene. I can't work it. Even now, it is as much as a mystery to me as this home, this house. I can't find a mirror. I did once, but it fooled me. The mirror was a trick. The glass inside, fake somehow. One of his cruel jokes, I expect. Sometimes the house fills with the smell of freshly cooked bread. The scent fills my nostrils and my mouth waters in anticipation. I don't remember baking it. I don't remember eating it. But I must have, I suppose. He ate it. I heard him say how delicious it was, and I smiled, relieved he liked it. Relieved I did one thing right, at least. This house makes no sense. I don't know where I am most days. I get lost in the labyrinth of hallways and pretty ornate rooms. One sunny morning, I was in the bedroom, the main one with the good mahogany furniture. Before I knew it, darkness had fallen, and I heard him laugh, that deep chuckle of his, the one I used to love. A wave of dread engulfed me. A shatter sensation pierced deep in my heart. I'm always cold. Is that why I can't settle? I asked him to turn on the heat once. The rambling old heating system the estate agent promised us still worked. He ignored me. He does that now. And no matter how many times I ask him, he won't turn out the lights at night. It's too bright. It blinds me. He won't listen. I fear the house. It is my enemy. Sometimes I cry in desperation, but tears won't seem to fall. At first, the house was my friend's, and I loved it. I liked to wander in the vast garden best of all, and plan which flowers I might grow, which special ones to plant and encourage to bloom. Roses, I decided. Pretty red roses with blood-colored petals. Ones I could enjoy on those balmy, hot summer nights I liked the most. I picture an image of one red rose standing in my delicate glass vase in the window. I wanted to act as a lure of what delights may lay beyond in our wonderful garden. I even dug a place. I ordered roses, a spade, and some compost. I made a home for my pretty flowers. I had everything ready, and I think that's where he put my body. I hardly felt the blow to the back of my head. When I did, it was too late. My memories slipped away. along with my life. He never spoke a word as he killed me. Not one word. There is a new woman here. She won't leave. I shout and I beg, but still she ignores me and stays. This house frightens me. I wander and I forget. Yesterday or weeks ago, I screamed at them both. He told her he loved her. Words he never said to me with meaning. They pretended not to hear me. I lashed out, kicked the antique coffee table, the one he insisted on buying with my money. It was always my money we used. The cups, my pretty china cups, rattled from the impact. They both left the room, horrified briefly. They made jokes about me, as if I wasn't there. I cannot settle. I'm always cold. I found my favorite lace dress. It's hanging in the wardrobe along with the other clothes I don't recognize. Did I buy them? Are they mine? I hate them. Short dresses and low-cut tops. On my dressing table, a brush with long brown hair tangled in it. My hair is blonde. Have I dyed it? I can't find a mirror that works. I cannot settle. I gaze out of a window. The woman is out there, in my garden, tending to roses that were meant to be mine. Blood red roses. The same color that ran down my face as I fell from the impact. My body must feed them. My roses are part of me, yet here I am. Is she the gardener? I forget. I suppose she must be. What did I ever do? I think I hate this house. I don't want to be here. It's far too cold. He comes up the stairs, the twisted banister held tightly in his grip. I scream. He ignores me. I tell him I cannot settle. Still, he pretends I don't exist. Pretends I'm not in his way. Anger stirs. Confusion overwhelms me. He was always so mean. So callous, so cruel. I push him. He falls, over and over, down flights of stairs, the ones I always hated climbing. He shrieks and wails. I don't like the sound. I peer at him, at the face I used to love. His eyes are open, but still, I don't think he sees me. He soon turns cold while my roses are pruned outside. The gardener, if that's who she is doing a good job. It's cold. I hate this house. At least now, I can settle.
This episode of Chilling Tales for Dark Nights is brought to you by Fume. Well, here we are, 2/3 through 2024, eh? And your New Year's resolution to drop that bad habit sure fell by the wayside, didn't it? Would you last, a week or two? I'll tell you what, the problem was, dropping a habit cold turkey is like riding your bike with a blindfold on. It's only a matter of time before you're going down. That's why you got to switch it up, not give it up. Give yourself a fighting chance, man. And the way to do that is with our good friends at Fume. Fume has this award-winning, super innovative little device that allows you to indulge that oral fixation instead of flinging yourself off the wagon time and time again. That's been the problem, guys. You're leaving yourself in the lurch. Fume gives you something to lean on so you're not jonesing all the time. It's earned them not only hundreds of thousands of happy customers, but the backing of doctors in the U.S. No chemicals, no vapor, no batteries, just natural, delicious flavors. Speaking of, friends, my favorites are the crisp mint and orange vanilla cores. Fume uses a passive diffusion system, really hits the spot without any vapor or combustion. surprisingly flavorful, but nice and natural, kind of like herbal tea. On top of that, it's got all these little fun parts to fiddle with. Me, I can't put the thing down. I even bring it to bed with me. It sleeps right on its own little pillow. My wife had mixed feelings about this at first, but you know what? Now she's got her own Fume and I'm sleeping out on the couch. Fume has served over 300,000 customers and you could be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code CHILLING to get a free gift with your journey pack. Head to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com and use code CHILLING to get a free gift with your order today. Thanks for your support and for supporting our valuable sponsors. I hope you enjoyed A Rose in the Window, as written by Sarah Jane Huntington and performed by Melissa Medina. Our second tale of the evening is written by James Cooper and performed by Nick Goroff. In it, we meet a man awakening to a sky that's not quite right. Now, without further ado, I present to you Lights Out.
Blink, and you would have missed it. Everyone did, including myself. It was only spotted by an IBM microchip within the WM Keck telescope. A tiny point of black. 1,000th the size of a single pixel. So small, yet so substantial. The AI controlling the data from the telescope sent an automatic text to Herney's Capaban as he slouched in his chair, informing him of an anomaly. Herney's generally received these every fortnight. He would investigate the anomaly on his laptop and screen it out as another unidentified object of little significance. This time, however, he could barely see anything untoward. Just a spot of deep blackness. So deep that what he thought of as black was now superseded by a new sublime black. A true black. Jotting it down to a potential black hole anomaly or astral irregularity, he settled back into his chair to finish his coffee and finish his online Scrabble game with his wife. This all occurred 3 hours ago, when I was fast asleep in my bed in my London flat. Waking up at 7:05, I sat on the edge of my bed, stretched and opened the blinds overlooking Beresford Street. I lived in North London on the 3rd floor of the block, so I had a great panoramic to wake up to every morning. The world seemed at peace. A couple of pigeons fluttered by, and early commuters trundled down the streets, phone in hand, coffee in the other. Thankfully, today was a WFH day, so I gave myself a few more seconds to take in London. A kid in an oversized school uniform kicked a Coke can between 2 bins. Cars meandered to their school drop-offs. It was as normal could be. But then, unconsciously, I did a double take to an area in the pale blue morning sky. Why? Well, it looked like someone had removed a pixel from the tapestry of life. A small needlehead of pure black, just above a faint church steeple. At first, I thought it had something to do with my eyes. I blinked hard. I gave them a rub and opened them again. But it was still there. It must be a bird or a balloon in the distance, but it did not move. Just a speck of black. A strange, unsettling sensation trickled from my scalp down my spine. But it was early. I hadn't had my morning cuppa and needed to get ready as I was meant to be supporting Mark in our pitch presentation at 1400. So I continued with my morning routine. After my Peloton workout, they were tough this morning. I had a shower, made an American, and bit into a stale croissant I had bought on my way home last night. I turned on the laptop and wondered how many bloody meeting requests and frustrated client emails I would find in my inbox. 20 minutes in, a creeping, nagging sensation that I couldn't budge had me out of my seat and once again looking through the bedroom window. In my mind, that strange speck I saw earlier would and should have disappeared. But as I peered through the window at the area above the steeple, I noticed that the speck was a good size larger, at least 5 centimeters in width now. Much more noticeable than the pinprick earlier, but still easily mistaken for a distant plane. I immediately clambered to the cupboard above my bed, threw out a rucksack and rummaged for a pair of binoculars I had used on last year's Kenyan safari. Given the lenses a rub, I looked back at the spot in the sky and, with the added vision now, noticed that the speck had the illusion of a brilliantly round, polished marble. Now my attention is piqued. This was weird and incredibly unsettling. Something strange happened, and I had a fleeting urge to vomit up my croissant. My local friend Nikki was into all things astrological and space-like, so I immediately dropped her a WhatsApp to look up, specifically due northeast towards St. Mary's and Joseph's Church to see if she could see any peculiarities. Thankfully, for once, London had begun the morning on a cloudless note, so visibility was excellent. A few minutes later, I received a message back from Nikki stating that she could indeed see it, but also included a remarkable image, thanks to her home telescope, of this hole in the sky. I responded with thanks and a stay-in-touch message and turned on the news to see if this phenomenon was being mentioned. Surprisingly, there was no coverage. Just the usual celebrity sleaze scandal and a Bolivian bus crash dominating the headlines. I returned to the desk, sent a few Teams messages to a couple of close colleagues to see if they could spot an it in the sky, and continued with the ad campaign mock-up for the pitch in the afternoon, so I was in the zone. By 11:10, I received a call from Nikki. Her voice put me on edge. It sounded excited, out of breath, and nervous. "This is insane," was all I needed to hear before knowing that the anomaly outside had progressed. With the smartphone up against my ear, I craned my neck round to look outside and saw what can only be described as a pure black baseball just under the sun, with small crowds of people gawping, pointing, and discussing the phenomenon. My bewilderment was broken when Nikki blurted out, "I'll keep an eye out on the UK Space Agency's intranet and keep you posted," and she ended the call. I flicked on the TV and caught the 11:30 Sky News summary. The breaking news red banner revolving at the bottom read, "Panic in governments around the world as an unknown space phenomenon grows in size." I couldn't believe what I was seeing and didn't know what to do. With my mind on the end of the world scenarios and a sense of panic building, I couldn't go back to work. So, instead, I did the quintessential British thing of making a cup of tea and slumped down on my sofa. I asked Alexa to play my Chilled Vibes playlist, whilst the outside hustle and bustle noises gradually increased in volume and aggression. My semi-relaxed trance was broken 20 minutes later by an almighty thud and explosion. I immediately looked out the window and a couple of angry pillars of smoke caught my attention. The noise of glass breaking and an angry scuffle some 30 meters away, by the Black Swan pub, drew my gaze downward. But as soon as I looked up, the once black baseball in the sky was now the size of a basketball, and, even without the use of the binoculars, I could see it was visibly growing in circumference. Grabbing my laptop, I logged back on and was inundated with news about collapsing galaxies, scientists working feverishly, and governments scrambling to assess the situation. Social media showed clips of streets filling with anxious crowds, and religious leaders harking back to references in old texts. It was overwhelming. I slammed the lid back down, decided I needed some human interaction, and headed out to discuss the evolving situation with Mike, my friend and manager of the Lucky Breaks convenience store. With the Windows barrier no longer in the way, and compared to the chaos on the news and social media, there was an eerie silence across the neighborhood. The black void, now at least 3 meters in width, had an almost calming effect. There was a slight tingling in the filling at the back of my mouth, and the hairs on my arms stood up as if from some invisible static machine. I looked around. Young and old, nervous and pallid faces looked at me from Victorian windows, then back up to the sky. The eeriness began to be punctuated by the howling of local dogs. They started at almost the same time and did not relent. The black anomaly had begun to overtake the light summer blue sky, rapidly getting larger. I looked across the street at Lucky Breaks and could see it was shut, so I immediately headed back to the comfort of the flat. Within minutes of entering my flat, the ambient humming buzz of the city died. There were a few errant pings from plugged-in machinery, and I realized the power had gone. Grabbing my phone, I tried to call my mum, but there was only a dead tone. And then the phone, with over 90% battery, suddenly died. The sensation in my filling began to sting. The sense of dread lurched in my guts. I felt sick. Looking out the window, the sun was a tiny, dazzling ball against the backdrop of black, surrounded by millions of smaller dots of light that winked out one by one. Was the world imploding? Were we being sucked into somewhere? I couldn't tell. I had no reference. I was alone. The ambient daylight rapidly grew lower, and then it went entirely. Pitch blackness. I could hear screams, yelling. I sat down. I tried to relax. I couldn't. Incredible pressure on my temples. It was all happening too fast. It was...
I hope you enjoyed. Lights Out is written by James Cooper and performed by Nick Goroff. On to the shows. Longtime resident Otis Gyrie has his very own show here on our network, Scary Stories Told in the Dark, which you can hear every Sunday night. We also have Eric Peabody's Horror Hill, a podcast dedicated to some of our deeper and darker tales. We hope you check him out. And Drew Blood's Dark Tales airs Fridays, featuring some Southern down-home horror. And don't forget to check out The Fear from the Heartland Archives, featuring more than 120 episodes. Well, friends, our weekly descent into the depths has just about come to a close. But before we go, I'd like to take a moment to thank you for joining us for tonight, and remind you to take a moment to stop by our iTunes page and leave Chilling Tales for Dark Nights a 5-star review and a kind word. And follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can find an archive of our work going back to 2012. And consider signing up as a patron at our website, chillingtalesfordarknights.com, to show your support and get all of our content ad-free. I'm your host of the evening, Steve Taylor, and it's been a pleasure. Tune in again next week when we once again turn off the lights and turn on the dark. Sweet dreams, listener. Sweet dreams.